Hi there, it's Dawn McVeigh with Make It Monday. Today I've got a simple sympathy card to share with you, as well as a few suggestions for things you might want to keep in mind when creating a sympathy card of your own. I know sometimes sympathy cards are hard to know exactly how to approach, so I've got a few tips for you today. To get started with, I've got a bit of Sweet Blush cardstock that I've cut and scored, and I'm going to use the Year of Flowers Gladiolus stamp set to get us started. The Year of Flowers series is a really great series to have on hand when you need to make a sympathy card. You really can't go wrong with flowers on sympathy cards. I'm inking this large gladiola image up with some hibiscus burst ink. Don't be afraid to use a little bit brighter colors on your cards. You want to not use colors that are obviously loud and garish and kind of in your face, but I certainly don't think that you need to use completely dull drab colors on a sympathy card. I think if your images and your sentiments, your font selections are all really tasteful, then it's a lot easier for you to go a little bit brighter on your colors so that ultimately the card that you send is a little bit cheery and uplifting rather than just depressing. Okay, so I used my heat tool on the ink just to make sure that it was really dry before I add some glitter. Now again, I don't want this to be a really flashy, garish, glittery card. I just want to add little touches of glitter in the centers of each of the flowers. So I'm just going to use a two-way glue pen to dab just a tiny bit of glue into the center of each of those flowers. And then I'll sprinkle on the glitter, and you'll see here in just a minute what a really pretty finishing touch it is without being too over the top. Okay, so I've got a bit of black cardstock here that I'm just going to use to catch the excess glitter. Just sprinkle on the glitter, flick off the excess with your finger just a bit. I realize it's kind of hard to see in the video, but it's a really soft finishing touch that I just think gives it that little extra bit of something without being too crazy. Next up, I've got a bit of vintage cream cardstock that I've die cut using the Fillable Frames number 4 die. And I'm going to use one of my favorite frame images from the Matte Stack 2 collection stamp set. I've got the stamp already mounted on the block, and I'm going to ink it up with hibiscus burst ink. It's just so pretty and classy, this frame. I think anytime you're making a sympathy card, it's a really good idea to go with classic, elegant fonts and frame images or flowers. Just nothing too cutesy or playful. You know what I mean? I think it's a good idea to really keep in mind what the person is going through that you've sent it to, and so to be respectful of that, I usually try and go with basic fonts and images that are a little more classic and classy and a little less fun and playful. I also stamped the sentiment with Heartfelt Sympathy in dark chocolate ink in the center of that frame, and that sentiment is also from the Matte Stack 2 stamp set. And now I've got a bit of hibiscus burst luxe satin ribbon. I folded the ribbon over in half, and I'm just going to use my ribbon scissors to snip off the end, and as you can see, that created a perfect little V. And I'm going to use a bit of score tape to adhere the ribbon across the front of the card. That score tape was a little bit wide, so I'm going with a 1/8 inch score tape. I'm just going to tear off a strip and stick it right on the back side of the ribbon. Just kind of getting an idea for placement here. So now I can peel off that paper backing on the adhesive, and just lay that strip of ribbon right across the front of the card. Now I'll take my ribbon scissors and trim off the excess. And now I'd like to make an additional loop of ribbon to tuck behind the little die cut. So I'm just going to lay the ribbon over itself to create the little loop so I can see where I need to cut it. And a little bit more score tape right to the back side of the ribbon will help me to create the loop I'd like to add to the card. Just fold it over and there you go, you've got a little loop. Now one more little bit of score tape right on the back side of the loop, and I'll be able to adhere it right on top of the other strip of ribbon on the card. But in order to get the positioning just right, I'm going to go ahead and hold that fillable frames die cut right over the card so I can see where I need it to be. And then I just mash the ribbon down, and now I'm ready to adhere the sentiment to the card front. Got a bit of Scotch foam adhesive. Just going to cut off 4 little bits of adhesive and put them on the back side of the card, but I want to keep those 2 pieces on the right scooched over to the left just a little bit because I'm going to trim off that little bit of the die cut. So just peel off those paper backings on the adhesive and stick it right on the front of the card. You want to make sure you get it lined up nice and straight before you mush that adhesive down very hard. And all that's left to do is turn the card over and trim off that little bit of excess on the fillable frames die cut. And there you have it. A simple little sympathy card just right for whenever the occasion arises. We'd love to see your take on this week's Make It Monday challenge. If you'd like to create a sympathy card for the challenge this week, be sure to head over to Nicole Hetty's blog and add the link to your project. Just remember when creating sympathy cards to keep in mind classic images, a little bit elegant maybe with your font choices and the touches that you add with frames and that sort of thing. And don't be afraid to use colors that are a little bit more cheery and uplifting. Sympathy cards don't have to be dull and drab. Sometimes those cheery colors can certainly help to brighten a person's day. Thanks a lot, guys. This is Dawn McVeigh with Make It Monday. Have a great week.